Single dad CO discards blind date, but his daughter reveals a surprising truth that changes everything. Jake stood in front of the mirror, his shirt half-tucked, trying to fight the sinking feeling in his gut. The date seemed like a joke, some cruel twist of fate from his sister. As the CEO of a burgeoning tech startup and a single dad to Lily, he had no room for a romantic distraction. Yet here he was, preparing for a night he had no intention of enjoying. He cast a glance toward the living room. Lily was sprawled on the floor, lost in her own world of sketches, crafting her dream treehouse in vivid colors. A pang of guilt gripped him. Lily was always the last thought of the day, and somehow the promise of a special treat when he returned didn't ease the growing tension in his chest. But he steeled himself, reminding himself that ambition meant sacrifice. At the restaurant, Jake attempted to engage in conversation, but words felt forced. His mind raced back home. What was Lily doing? Was she eating dinner? Did she need him? The responsibility of providing a stable future for her loomed in the back of his mind, folding itself into the self-imposed boundaries he had placed around his heart. Every second away felt like an hour lost, and he was growing anxious. Across the table, his date's laughter jabbed at him. A fleeting thought flickered in his mind. Was he turning into one of those men who traded family for the allure of romance? He dismissed it. He had a pitch to prep for the next day that could dictate Lily's future. What were a few hours of awkward small talk in comparison? Meanwhile, back at home, Lily, curious and restless, crept out of her room. She overheard snippets of conversation, her father's date mentioning a name from their family's past. The name brushed against the edges of her memory, a long-buried family secret, and suddenly, the feeling inside her grew electric. It tugged at her consciousness like a light beckoning her forward. Something profound connected them to this woman seated at a table far away, something she needed to understand. Just as she began piecing fragments together, a sudden noise jolted her back into her own space. Heart racing, she hurried back to her room, overwhelmed with the realization that she could be instrumental in unraveling these buried secrets. Would confronting her dad bring them closer together or push them further apart? Back at the restaurant, Jake's phone buzzed violently against the table, distracting him from the date. An urgent work crisis threatened to disrupt everything he'd built. Whatever semblance of normalcy was left vanished, and he felt at times slipping, as if the weight of his responsibilities blurred the lines between family and ambition. Should he abandon the dinner for a pitch that could restore their straining finances? Those seconds stretched into eternity, forcing him to confront the truth about his priorities. Internal panic rose as he felt the pressure of the career he had sacrificed personal connections for. Meanwhile, in her room, Lily, empowered by her new discovery, was crafting plans of her own, ready to uncover the truth lurking behind her father's guarded demeanor. She revised her sketches, not of treehouses but of family history, determined to weave the threads of past and present together, a task she unwittingly knew was more significant than any dogged dream. Jake's eyes darted back to his phone, and in that moment, the reality that the weight of ambition could break their fragile bond tightened around him like chains. How far would he go to protect Lily from the mess he had created? Everything hung in the balance, and as he prepared to decide, both he and Lily stood on the brink of truths that could change everything forever. The phone buzzed again, cutting through the tense atmosphere like a knife. Jake's breath hitched as he glanced at the screen. Another urgent email notification blared at him about a potential investor pulling out. He weighed his options, trapped in a cycle of professional obligations that had begun to eclipse his personal life. In that moment, he saw a reflection of his choices, sacrificing the fleeting moments of connection with Lily for a business that, while offering financial stability, had taken precedence over the love and bond he shared with his daughter. His date noticed his distraction, the laughter fading into uncomfortable silence. It didn't matter. Jake couldn't shake the worry about what awaited him back home, feeling that he was an architect of his own loneliness. This date felt like a facade, an attempt to step away from the harshness of reality. But every minute spent at the table was a reminder of what he was neglecting. "I'll be right back," he muttered, slipping away to find a deserted corner of the restaurant. Each step ahead felt heavier than the last, and he realized he couldn't escape the insistent pull of guilt that nagged at him. As he typed out an urgent reply to the email, his mind drifted back to images of Lily's innocent face, her trusting eyes filled with belief in him. The reality was stark. No matter how successful he became, if he lost her in the process, what had it all been for? Back at home, Lily was torn between the thrill of her discovery and the fear it might change everything. The sketches of the family tree hid layers of stories that had never been shared. Digging deeper felt both empowering and daunting. She felt an urge to confront her father with the truths she was beginning to piece together, yet a part of her hesitated, longing to maintain the safe, familiar love they shared. What if the secrets they had buried were connected to heartbreak? Would it shatter the world she knew? Or could it bring them closer together, igniting a connection that wasn't just built on silence but on understanding? In the restaurant, Jake returned to the table, determined to engage, but doubt gnawed at him. Should he tell her the truth about his struggles, the plans he had made that didn't leave room for love? But then, a flicker of hope sparked a thought that this could all still be manageable. As he locked eyes with his date, a quiet firmness settled in him. Perhaps opening himself up would open up lines of communication, not just for her, but for Lily as well. The journey to balance his ambitions with the emotional needs of his daughter was fully ahead of him. Jake cleared his throat, preparing to steer the conversation back to lighter subjects, but his emotions caught him off guard. "You know, I'm not just a businessman. I'm a dad." Suddenly, Lily's voice echoed in his head, urging him to be vulnerable, to be real. "What would you want your daughter to know about you?" he whispered to himself. Increasing tension surged within him. The possibility of facing his fears and accepting his dual roles loomed over him, raw and uncontrolled. Back home, Lily sat on her floor, sketches spread around her like a tapestry of life. She could feel the piece she had been missing, all those disconnected threads finally leading to answers. But the choice to approach Jake would mean nudging open a door that might unleash everything: the heartfelt connection, or the painful truths. In that moment, both father and daughter stood in the orbit of a revelation that could rupture the silence that had defined their lives. Could Lily's questions and Jake's truths intertwine seamlessly into something more profound? The air felt charged, pulsing with possibilities that could redefine their relationship. As Jake stood ready to embrace the evening with renewed clarity, his phone buzzed once more, a force pulling him back to business, reminding him that success and family could be in direct conflict. The moment of truth lingered, each heartbeat echoing the unspoken connections waiting to be revealed. Determined to shift the narrative, Jake took a step towards honesty, just as Lily prepared to unveil her own revelation. But would they find resolution or create even greater distance? The uncertainty loomed palpably in the air, compelling both toward a confrontation they had avoided for too long. Jake's heart raced as the phone buzzed again, shuddering against the table like a warning siren. He stole a glance at the screen, a confirmation of an unsettling trend: investors hesitating, closings slipping through his fingers. Just as he resolved to be more present, the familiar weight of professional anxiety settled back in. "Are you all right?" his date asked, concern flickering in her eyes. Jake forced a smile, the kind that never touched the corners of his mouth completely. "Just a busy week at work," he deflected. Yet, his mind spiraled, grappling with guilt and unfulfilled promises that laced his own heartache. He had sacrificed nights like these, moments with his daughter, hawking a potential merger or chasing dwindling profits rather than embracing the laughter and untold stories at home. He had to change, if not for himself, then for Lily. She deserved better than a distracted, half-hearted father. In a sudden surge of clarity, Jake realized that he had ignored the roots that grounded him: his connection with Lily, her joy, her curiosity. The architect of his career was also the caretaker of their bond, now threatened by a wall built on unspoken truths and private struggles. As the conversation at the table drifted into generic territory, an insipid blend of small talk, Jake stared into his glass, seeing the reflection of what he'd become. No more pretending, he thought, recalling Lily's innocent exploration of their family history. Did she sense the distance, the hollow spaces within their relationship? He excused himself again, heading to the restroom where he could breathe without the masks of adulthood for a moment. In solitude, he caught a glimpse of a father who had lost his way, torn between ambition and the responsibilities of love. Meanwhile, at home, Lily was at a crossroads of her own. The sketches around her illuminated identities her ancestors, their triumphs and struggles revealing more than just names. Each line crafted her understanding of who she was, who they were together. But would facing Jake with this newfound knowledge push him further away? The weight of revealing her discovery made her stomach clench. Could she confront him without shattering their relationship? What if her truths only opened deeper fissures? The thought held her captive. Who would she be without the comfort of their current dynamic? Jake returned to the table with steely resolve. He needed to talk to Lily, to recognize the narrative they had both shared the responsibility to construct. As the evening wore on, he texted her a picture of her favorite animal with a message of love. A subtle reminder that she was his priority, above accolades and investments. The short silence between his phone's vibrations felt suffocating. Would she respond? It was a small gesture, yet it was something sincere that signified his intent, a bridge toward deeper connection. Lily glanced at her phone as the buzz catapulted her thoughts. Dad. The single word had the power to bridge her fears or deepen them. What if he doesn't understand? What if he doesn't want to? Threaded through her mind. Both were standing at the brink of self-discovery, Jake, ready to embrace transparency, and Lily, prepared to face the truth cloaked in shadows. Little did they know, the walls they had built might not only crack but also shatter completely, forging a path for something new. As the night drew to a close, tensions thrummed like an electric current between them, unspoken issues lingering just below the surface. Each was poised on the edge of a revelation. Would their stories collide in a way that fostered growth, or would they unravel everything they had known? The moment felt primal, charged with the need for honesty that could either free or condemn. Neither knew that the next exchange would determine not just the tenor of their relationship but the trajectory of their lives. Jake's phone buzzed yet again, but this time, he ignored it. It was time to face what lay ahead. Yet, how would they confront the hidden truths that awaited in the shadows of their lives? Would the light of revelation unify them or cast them further apart? The moment had arrived, the atmosphere crackling with unarticulated sentiments. Jake felt as if he was teetering on a tightrope. He couldn't shake off the overbearing sensation that he was about to plunge into an abyss. He couldn't go home without confronting the ghostly whisper of his career hanging over their lives like a dark cloud. Even if tonight was just a dinner date, it was also a precursor to the conversation he needed to have with Lily, the real conversation. After saying his goodbyes to his date, Jake climbed into his car, feeling the weight of the steering wheel against his palms. He drove through the quiet streets, the night offering little solace. What was he more afraid of? Losing his job or losing Lily? The thought of facing her looming discovery paralyzed him. His professional identity craved attention, however, the instinct to nurture their bond screamed louder. Returning home, he found Lily in her room, lights dimmed, surrounded by her sketches, each one reflecting pieces of her budding personality. There was a courage in her artwork that Jake felt he had lost. She looked up, eyes widening, perhaps sensing the urgency in the air. "Hey, Dad," she said softly, her voice revealing more about her emotional state than any words could convey. "Can we talk?" Jake replied, his own voice trembling. He gestured for her to join him on the living room couch. The words for their conversation danced on the tip of his tongue, but hesitation held him captive. He sensed the unspoken understanding that they had both been grappling with, a dissonance that refused to be ignored. Lily settled beside him, her sketches still clutched in her hands, the pages creasing under her grasp. "You're not just back to work, you're back to being distant." The weight of her observation hit harder than he anticipated. "You didn't even look at the animals I sent you." How did she perceive him so accurately? In that moment, he realized that while he had been preoccupied with external battles, she observed the internal struggle within him, mirrored it, and felt the consequences. "I know I haven't been here," he confessed, his voice strained. "I'm trying to figure things out, but I keep messing it up. I need you to understand." I think you're more lost than I am. Her blunt honesty cut through him. I thought we were learning our family history together. But instead you keep retreating? The silence grew, thick with tension as he absorbed her words. The revelation felt like a dual-edged sword. Lily's struggle was a reflection of his own. They were both losing their way. What if they had both been waiting for the other to make the first move? Lily, he faltered, words halted by his fear of failure in both roles, as a father and as a professional. Would admitting a lack of clarity in his career shatter her trust, reinforce her own insecurities? What I discovered, it's about our family. The past, she blurted out, urgency thrumming through her tone. I think it could change how we see things. His heart echoed with anticipation. This was the moment he had both dreaded and hoped for. Did she hold the key to the connection they had both been yearning for? If she was ready to share, he had to be just as brave. What did you find? The way she hesitated felt heavy with significance, and Jake knew that he couldn't let fear dictate the conversation. Her sketchbook slipped from her grip, opening up to an intricate drawing of their family tree. I traced our lineage, Dad. But it's not just names. I found stories, connections, things that show us who we really are, who we can be. In that instant, Jake felt a spark of profound possibility. They had the chance to rewrite their narrative, both as a father and daughter. The shadows of his professional life mingled with the light of discovery in her eyes, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, hope flickered between them. Can we explore these together? He asked, his voice steady, each word infused with an unexpected resolve. Yes, let us do it, she beamed, and as she reached for his hand, the connection solidified, a firm promise that they would face the unknown together. But little did they know, the truths unveiled in those sketches would unlock more than just their family's past. They might unravel barriers either expected and set both of them on unexpected journeys. With that thought lingering in the air, Jake's phone buzzed again, the sudden noise cutting through the deeper connection they had found. An investor's name flashed on the screen, a reminder of the world waiting outside this familial sanctuary. Would he choose to answer, or would he dedicate this pivotal moment to Lily? As he hesitated, the decision loomed large in his mind, threatening not just their rekindled relationship, but the potential restoration of his own self-identity. Jake's eyes remained fixed on the glowing screen of his phone, the name pulsing like a heartbeat in his mind. The struggle was palpable. On one side, the pressing urgency of his career, represented by the investor's call, seemed to be an anchor he couldn't sever. On the other side, Lily's hopeful gaze felt like an emerging beacon, the way forward illuminated by the potential to rediscover themselves together. Dad? Lily's voice cut through the haze of uncertainty, and her hand, still warm from contact, offered grounding. You can take it, if it's important. He sensed an undercurrent of disappointment in her tone, realizing that his momentary indecision might reinforce her earlier criticism. But what was more critical? The call that could mean financial security, or the blossoming connection with his daughter, the only legacy that truly mattered. I know, I want tea, he said finally, shutting the phone's screen. A strange, unexpected thrill coursed through him at the choice he had made. In rejecting the call, Jake felt a weight lift. He had chosen to prioritize family over fleeting ambition. A tender smile crept across Lily's face as if she sensed his resolve. You're really going to explore this? She asked, excitement brightening her brown eyes. Of course, he replied, realizing that rather than fearing the unknown's dark, shrouded corners, he had begun to welcome it, recognizing that the bonds between them provided the courage to confront whatever lay ahead. The family tree sprawled on the pages of her sketchbook ignited in him an assurance he desperately needed. Tell me about these stories you found, he urged, genuine curiosity infusing his voice. Lily's fingers traced the drawings, her excitement tangible. This one, she pointed to a branching section, is about Great-Grandpa Harold. He was a carpenter who, during the Depression, built homes for families who lost everything. Jake listened, enraptured as she recounted tales of resilience and hardship, tales of determination that rippled through their lineage. In each anecdote, he recognized fragments of Lily, her capacity for empathy and creativity. He was witnessing not just another familial bond but a rejuvenation of his purpose. "See? We come from a line of strong individuals," she said, her enthusiasm pulling him deeper into their shared history. "We can make our mark too, Dad." He caught her contagious optimism, and with each heartbeat, Jake realized that her faith in their connection was prompting him to confront his own demons. Overwhelmed by a sudden awareness, he realized the comfort he had sought in the professional realm was misguided, a brittle sanctuary opposed to the fortitude he could build in their relationship. "Maybe it's not just about me learning from the past," he mused aloud, piecing together the ideas swirling in his mind. "Maybe it's about us shaping our future together." Lily nodded, her excitement blossoming into something more profound, a shared journey. "Exactly. What if we tell our family stories? Transform them into our art? We could create something magical representing us, what we stand for." The prospect sent a thrill through Jake. He envisioned the potential, the artistry blending their exploration into something tangible, something larger than either of them. In this synthesis of past and future lay the opportunity to forge not just a profound bond but to inspire a new legacy. As the hours slipped by, the two delved deeper into family stories, layers of history unveiling before them, compelling Jake to engage on a personal level he hadn't anticipated. Each tale ignited a spark within him, awakening his latent passion for storytelling, something long subdued in the clamor of corporate objectives. But just as they began discussing how to translate their newfound connection into a collaborative project, the phone buzzed again, insistently this time. The flashing name felt almost intrusive in the sacred space of their shared experience. "What if you take it?" Lily suggested, but Jake could see the flicker of apprehension beneath her supportive facade. He hesitated, the weight of expectation settling heavily on his shoulders. Could he really afford to turn away from his duties, his career? Or would this choice signify a crucial turning point in reclaiming his identity as both father and creative spirit? As he reached for the phone, heart pounding, the potential repercussions tangled with his desire for rediscovery. What awaited at the end of this call? Jake would soon discover that the path ahead might compel him to make a stand he had avoided for too long, either risking it all or redefining himself in the process. The call could either unravel his ambition, or be the catalyst for a new beginning. Jake's finger lingered over the phone screen, the buzzing vibrating through him with a jarring familiarity. He could feel the invisible threads of responsibility tugging at him, a chorus of expectations clamoring for his attention. But the warmth radiating from Lily, her eyes filled with trust and excitement, anchored him momentarily. He let out a shaky breath as he silenced the call. "Let us focus on this," he said, returning his gaze to Lily's sketchbook. He felt as if his decision had lit a fire in a previously dark room. "What stories do you want to start with?" he asked, hoping his enthusiasm mirrored hers. "Well," she began, flicking through pages until a drawing caught her eye. "This one is about Grandma Alice. She was a painter, you know. During the war, she used her art to raise money for soldiers' families." Jake's heart warmed with a bittersweet pang. He had known Alice loved to paint but had neglected that part of her life, pushed away by the demands of his own career. It made him realize how much he had overlooked in the quest for success. "Did she teach you to paint?" he asked, genuinely curious. Lily nodded. "She showed me that art is a way to express emotions, Dad. It's more than just colors on a canvas, it tells our stories." A wave of emotion washed over Jake. "I almost forgot how essential that is. I've been so focused on numbers, meetings, I've lost sight of what really matters." This revelation blossomed within him, its roots reaching deep into his once buried ambitions. The determination to honor his family legacy began to shift his perspective, pushing him to recognize the artistic reservoir he had abandoned long ago. But could he really reclaim that side of himself now? As he pondered the past, Lily's face lit up with inspiration. "What if we create a series of paintings that tell our family stories? Each piece could represent a different person or event, showing how they all connect." "Yes. And we can weave in our own experiences too. This can be a reflection of who we are now and a tribute to where we came from," Jake exclaimed, the excitement brightening his voice. Lily's enthusiasm was contagious. "We can start tomorrow. I can sketch out ideas, and you can write down stories or poems to go with them." But just as the spark ignited between them, he felt a pang of doubt. The call that had so insistently sought his attention lingered in the back of his mind like a shadow. Could he truly abandon his responsibilities? Would he be letting himself and Lily down? "What if we set a deadline?" Jake said suddenly, his ideas surfacing rapidly. "Let us create a timeline for completing our first piece. It will give us a focus, something to work toward. And I'll ensure my professional life doesn't overshadow this project." "Deal." Lily grinned, her excitement palpable. He felt a swell of determination surge through him. This venture could be the manifestation of the connection he craved, but just as crucially, it held the potential for personal rejuvenation. As they outlined their plans, a flicker of apprehension still clung to him, growing steadily more insistent. What would happen when the business world came calling again? Would he again be drowned in priorities that left little room for growth and creativity? The moment was charged with promise, but behind the horizon loomed uncertainty. As they worked on the first piece, a tribute to Great-Grandpa Harold, Jake couldn't shake the burning question: what sacrifices would he have to make for a life that fully embraced both his creative spirit and his responsibilities? Just then, a new message lit up the phone. Glancing at it, he noticed a text from the investor. A meeting was scheduled for tomorrow, and it required his attendance. Lily noticed the shift in his expression and frowned. "What is it?" "Just business," he managed to respond, his voice now less certain. Jake's heart pounded as he contemplated the decision awaiting him: to prioritize this budding creative endeavor with Lily or once again plunge into the relentless tide of his career. The path ahead had never felt so daunting. Tomorrow would force a reckoning. Would he find the courage to balance the scales of ambition and connection? Would this new project be the bridge to his burgeoning identity, or a distraction from inevitable reality? Either way, the moment of decision was fast approaching, and Jake knew he stood at a crossroads that would redefine everything. Jake sat in the small cafe, his heart racing as he tapped his fingers nervously on the table. The aroma of coffee enveloped him, offering a temporary distraction from the knot of anxiety twisting in his stomach. Across from him, his investor, Gregory, radiated impatience. The high-stakes business world loomed around him, urging him to slip back into his old self, the one driven by targets and profits. "Jake," Gregory interrupted, snapping him out of his reverie. "I need to know you're committed. We're about to make significant moves, but I can't have you distracted by, well, whatever this is." He glanced around the cafe, his disdain for the creative atmosphere evident. "Right," Jake replied, forcing a smile he didn't feel. Inside, a battle raged. His thoughts drifted to Lily, her vibrant sketches, and their shared dream of creating art that represented their family history. It stirred a deep longing within him, one that clashed violently against the sterile pressure of corporate expectations. "Do you want to lead this project or not?" Gregory pressed, leaning forward, his voice a low growl. Jake felt a surge of resistance. "I do want to, but I need balance. The business can't consume me entirely. I've realized there's more to life than just numbers," he stated, surprising even himself with the calm determination in his voice. "Numbers are everything, Jake. You can't let sentiment cloud your vision," Gregory retorted sharply, his eyes narrowing. For a fleeting moment, doubt crept back in, whispering that his investor might be right. But then he thought of Lily's enthusiasm, the passion she had for their creative venture, and the realization that life offered more than just success measured in financial gain. Perhaps, but stories, human experiences, these have value too. "If you can't recognize that, we might not share the same vision," Jake responded, using the opportunity to stand his ground. Gregory's expression hardened for a moment, and Jake braced for the typical rebuttal. Instead, Gregory sighed, seemingly defeated. "You know I'm not asking you to abandon your family. Just focus." The tension hung thick in the air, but Jake leaned deeper into the clarity that had begun to solidify around his desires. He wanted to step out of the shadow of his old self, to be a father and an artist. He envisioned their project as not merely a distraction but a transformative ambition capable of bridging gaps he'd long overlooked. After dismissing Gregory, Jake stepped out into the brisk afternoon air, the weight of the meeting settling into resolve rather than despair. He pulled out his phone and texted Lily. "Can we meet to brainstorm? Let us make this project come alive." Her response was immediate and overflowing with excitement. "Yes. Can't wait." As anticipation replaced worry, Jake felt a newfound momentum. This couldn't just be about creating art. It was about developing themselves, him as a father, Lily as a creator, and both as storytellers. The project now seemed like an intricate tapestry, weaving together legacy and individuality, a celebration of origins and a bold step into uncharted territory. Later that evening, Jake gathered his notes and sketches in tandem with Lily's ideas. Every brushstroke they envisioned together whispered of meaning and introspection. It fed an eagerness for creation that had long lain dormant. He began to draft a plan, integrating Lily's sketches with his own narratives and lining up deadlines with concrete steps to create accountability. Just as he began to feel secure in this new direction, his phone buzzed again, an unexpected call from Gregory. Hesitantly, he accepted. "Jake, I need to discuss the proposal again. Can we meet tomorrow?" Jake's heart sank momentarily. He had desired a decisive break from the storm of business. Steeling himself, he replied, "Sure, but understand this, my priorities have shifted." The silence stretched across the line before Gregory's voice returned, hesitant. "Are you sure you want to do this? It may cost you." Jake gripped the phone tightly. "It already has," he declared. Hanging up, Jake realized this tug-of-war with his investments and aspirations was only beginning. He had taken a step toward his truth, but the repercussions were yet to unfold. As he leaned back in his chair, a sense of both exhilaration and dread filled him. What would it take to keep his commitment to Lily while facing the stern demands of Gregory and the corporate world? With that uncertainty looming, Jake understood that the next meeting might be the tipping point, forcing a hard choice. Could he balance ambition without losing sight of who he truly was becoming? Jake paced in his modest home office, the walls adorned with Lily's colorful sketches and his notes, scattered around like the days of his life. Each bright stroke of color shouted vibrancy, a stark contrast to the gray suit he wore in an attempt to mold into a corporate identity. They were preparing for an ambitious project that tapped into their heritage, but the weight of Gregory's looming expectations cast shadows on his enthusiasm. The morning after the call with Gregory, Jake's resolve began to fracture as he stared at his cluttered desk. He grasped the concepts they had devised and tried to muster that same excitement he'd felt during their brainstorming session. But the thought of facing Gregory again, armed with his corporate demeanor and sharp business acumen, tightened the knot in his stomach. He glanced at Lily's latest sketch, a vibrant image depicting a family tree with branches extending towards the sun, interspersed with symbols of their heritage. It reminded him of their promise to bring stories to life, to create something that spoke of who they were. Would Gregory understand that passion? Or would he dismiss it as mere distraction? Determined to keep this project at the forefront, he pulled out his laptop and began drafting a more cohesive vision document, incorporating not just the artistic elements but also a pragmatic timeline to appease Gregory's business sensibilities. He understood the need for both creativity and feasibility. The crossroads of those two worlds felt daunting, yet invigorating. With each word he typed, the tension he had felt after disconnecting from Gregory began to ease, replaced by an emerging clarity. He would present a plan that aligned with their artistic values while still providing the structure needed for the investor to take them seriously. But what if Gregory rejected it? What if all this effort was for nothing? The looming realization hit like a wave. Perhaps he was letting fear dictate his actions again, just as he had before. A frantic voice inside screamed that he must push forward, regardless of the outcome. He had a choice to make: grow beyond the constraints of business and embrace the unknown, or fold into the expectations that had previously defined him. Would he allow himself to be both an artist and a businessman? And what would that even look like? As the clock ticked towards the meeting, nerves twisted his stomach again. He glanced at his phone and saw a message from Lily, a simple picture of a new sketch. It was a playground, vibrant and filled with children laughing and playing, framed by old trees. She captured joy in its purest form, a reflection of their bond and their project's essence. The meeting room smelled of polished wood and stale coffee, familiar enough to evoke a sense of control but strange enough to hint at his discomfort. Gregory sat at the head of the table, his posture projecting authority. "You have your proposal?" he asked, scrutinizing Jake through sharp eyes. Jake's heart raced, but determination surged. This time, he would not just argue numbers, he would speak from the soul of the vision he and Lily had crafted. "I do," Jake replied, his voice steady despite the unease swirling inside. He laid out their plan, spotlighting his daughter's sketches, the narrative woven into each line, and how it drew deeply from their family history. He demonstrated not just the artistry but the potential for meaningful connection, cleverly weaving in projections and potential revenue streams, engaging both the emotional and practical sides of the pitch. Gregory listened intently, his expression inscrutable. When Jake finished, silence filled the room, thick with contemplation. "I wouldn't deny there's potential in the art angle," Gregory finally said, leaning back. "But your emotional investment could cloud your judgment. You must stay grounded." Jake felt the familiar doubt creep in. Had he gone too far? Was the leap towards creativity too reckless in this financial climate? Yet, Lily's laughter echoed in his mind, reminding him of the promise he had made to weave their stories into something tangible. He opened his mouth to respond but hesitated as clarity hit him like lightning. "Perhaps," Jake countered carefully, "but if we don't emphasize the story, we might miss connecting with our audience entirely. This isn't just a project to me, it's a legacy." His gaze locked with Gregory's, determination coursing through him. The stakes had never felt higher. As Gregory considered this stance, Jake felt a shifting tide in the air, an inkling that his commitment to embrace both his professional and personal identities could be the foundation of something greater. However, the bell-like chime of uncertainty still echoed, reminding him that he would face challenges ahead. Before they could conclude, a flash of realization struck Jake. The next meeting would not merely challenge his creativity, it would demand every ounce of his resolve and adaptability. Could he truly stand firm amidst rising pressure, and navigate the fog of expectations to preserve what mattered most? Longing for balance, Jake took a deep breath, his heart racing. The real test lay ahead. What awaited him next could alter everything. Jake left the meeting room, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. The sound of Gregory's voice faded as he exited into the dimly lit hallway. Each step felt heavy, a tangible reminder of the pressure weighing down on him. He had stood his ground, argued with conviction, and now he faced the uncomfortable solitude that followed intense scrutiny. The lingering doubt of whether he had overstepped haunted him, but there was also a flicker of pride. For the first time in a long while, he had asserted his vision. The elevator ride down was mercifully still. He took a moment to breathe, focusing on the soft hum of the machinery around him. It grounded him, allowed him to recall the vibrant sketches of his daughter that lay ahead. Each image was a testament to hope and storytelling, a stark reminder of why he was committed to this venture in the first place. As he stepped out onto the street, the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating the bustling neighborhood. The energy of city life appealed to him, a marked contrast to the anxious ambivalence he felt in the boardroom. How could he channel this vibrant energy into their project? Could he bridge the gap between his artistic soul and the rigid structure of the corporate realm? The notion of balance beckoned him like an inviting puzzle. The drive towards financial success was imperative. It shaped the world he wanted to build for Lily. Yet, what use would it be if he lost the essence of their creativity along the way? He walked past the cafe, the scent of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the wafts of baked goods, and his stomach growled in response. Perhaps a break was overdue, if only to gather his thoughts. Ordering a coffee, he took a seat by the window, observing the hustle around him. People dashed by, some in suits, others in casual wear, each embodying a different aspect of life. What struck him was their stories. Behind every person, there was a complexity he yearned to reflect in his project. A connection. He realized many might not understand the art, or the heritage they were tapping into. But if he could articulate why those elements mattered, if he could connect each thread deliberately, maybe they could build something meaningful. Just then, his phone buzzed. It was a text from Lily, a photo of her latest drawing, an elaborate castle surrounded by a lush garden. Each detail reflected her imagination. "How's the meeting, Dad?" she texted. The innocence in her message tugged at his heart. He smiled, realizing that no matter the turmoil in his professional life, her creativity was a source of power and reassurance. He typed back quickly, sharing how proud he was of her latest creation, and asked if they could spend the afternoon working together on their project. Her enthusiastic response came almost immediately, and he felt a warmth spread through him. This was their artistic sanctuary. His interactions with her were the antidote to the corporate chaos. Finishing his coffee and feeling rejuvenated, he felt an urge to return to his office, or more accurately, to return to the heart of their project. On his way, he mentally began to draft how he could thread together their personal stories with business strategy. What if he presented a dual narrative showcasing both profit potential and the deeply enriched stories behind their work? As he settled back at his desk, a thought struck him. He had always viewed his background as something to blend in, to package neatly. But perhaps that was the heart of their project. The stories weren't just anecdotes. They were the lifeblood steeped in cultural richness that could engage audiences in a way they hadn't considered before. The voice of doubt crept in again, whispering that this was risky. But Jake shook his head, dismissing it. He recalled his exchange with Gregory. True, the investor had a level-headed perspective, but without the passionate emotional undercurrents, he might miss the essence of why this project would thrive. Jake could leverage his duality not just as an artist or businessman, but as a father, unearthing evergreen stories that mattered. As he crafted the outline for his proposal anew, clarity emerged. He could blend both aspects for a revised pitch that explained how heritage and creativity could lead to compelling stories, heartening connections, and ultimately success. However, before he could completely flesh this idea out, another flash of inspiration struck. If he intended to make this an engaging narrative, what if he brought in an external perspective, perhaps guest interviews or community involvement? The thought rattled with excitement. But now, did he possess enough courage to push this boundary? Suddenly, the phone chimed again, breaking his concentration. An invitation to another meeting with Gregory, a session aimed at refining the proposal further. The implications hit him. He could share his new vision and take that leap. Determination coursed through him again, yet anxiety mingled with it. Would this be a step forward, or would he risk losing the artistic freedom he cherished? The thought of merging these aspects felt daunting, but the lingering image of Lily's warm smiles anchored him. Jake took a deep breath and nodded to himself. This next step was necessary, a confrontation with his own boundaries. Was he ready to break through them for the legacy they were developing? The moment was ripe for discovery, and he felt the tide shifting towards something transformative. What awaited him at that meeting could redefine the course of his path, and the stakes had never felt higher. Jake stepped into the office meeting room, fortified by a sense of purpose he had not felt before. He addressed Gregory with measured confidence, prepared to present a vision that intertwined their business aspirations with the emotional fabric of family stories. Sustained by the vibrant sketches and tales crafted with Lily, he was ready to advocate for a new approach, a narrative that embraced creativity alongside profit. "Thanks for coming," Gregory began, peering over his glasses. "You've restructured the proposal, I see?" "Yes, I have," Jake replied, watching as Gregory's attention sharpened. With each slide, he articulated the compelling narratives that framed their family venture, stressing the significance of connecting art with heritage. He highlighted Lily's sketches, illustrating not merely financial projections but the power of storytelling that engaged audiences on a personal level. The room hummed with an electrifying tension as Jake unfolded his memories alongside their business plan. He meticulously explained how these stories would resonate with communities, revealing a unique avenue for connection, bringing attention to both the artistic vision and the inherent business value. Gregory's eyebrows raised, skepticism still shadowing his face. "I understand the concept, Jake, but do you believe that the market will respond to these emotional narratives? we need hard facts too. It's essential to uncover the depths of what binds us, Jake asserted, feeling a rush of passion. Art influences society's consciousness, and diverse narratives can unfold new conversations that have commercial viability. I want to create something that lasts, encapsulating our identities and legacies. All right, Gregory conceded, his tone shifting just a degree as intrigue sparked behind his eyes. How do you propose we validate this to stakeholders? The dialogue that followed became a dance of ideas, with Jake pushing boundaries, offering insights on engaging potential audiences through art exhibitions, interactive storytelling, and community workshops that tied each tale back to present connections. This was more than just business for him, it was an intertwining of ambition with familial roots, a redemption arc for both himself and Lily. As the meeting progressed, something within him transformed. This was no mere pitch, he was enacting a profound commitment. They weren't just selling a project, they were unveiling a legacy that would shape their futures. The meeting culminated with Gregory visibly reassured but retaining a pragmatic edge. I'm willing to work on this proposal, but it will take substantial commitment from both sides. We need this to resonate and convert to revenue, or it may not fly. Jake nodded, bloody-knuckled from the confrontation but wholly invigorated. There's a path here, and I believe we can build something meaningful. Let us combine our strengths. Art and business both deserve their due. Emerging from the office, he felt lighter than he had in months. A sense of clarity enveloped him, buoyed by the conviction that he could merge these two worlds. His exploration with Lily was blossoming into something that underscored not only his aspirations but their bond. Back home, Jake found Lily sprawled on the floor with her sketches. The moment her eyes lit up upon seeing him reinforced every intention he had. Their artistic venture would not only illuminate their family legacy, but cradle his growth as a father. "Dad! How did it go?" she exclaimed. "Great, actually." He knelt beside her, flipping through her drawings. "We have the chance to create something extraordinary together. We'll be sharing our stories with the world." Lily's face transformed, her excited smile a validation of his aspirations. "What if we hold the gallery showing? We could invite the community." "Exactly," Jake responded, electrified by her enthusiasm. "Let us build a plan. We'll reach out to organizations, create an event, and showcase our project." As they began working out the details, an unfamiliar yet welcome sensation of fulfillment illuminated Jake's heart. This was not just an artistic project, it was a gateway to nurture their connection, reduce his corporate burdens, and elevate their family story. Together, they mapped out timelines, themes, and logistics, infusing the proposal with palpable excitement as the timeline began to solidify. With every sketch, they were not only decoding their shared history but forging pathways for their future. Things were changing, and every moment spent with Lily transformed his view on legacy. Each sketch was not just a reflection of the past, it was an investment in their bond and their commitment to create a holistic view of who they were becoming. As weeks passed, Jake stepped confidently into his dual role of father and CEO. The gallery showing approached, and he felt the accumulating anticipation and joy overcoming obstacles once deemed insurmountable. The project became their lifeline, the bridge that connected Jake's professional ambition to the essence of storytelling embedded in their shared lineage. In a defining moment, as the gallery event setup unfolded behind him, he reflected on how far he had come. The initial fears of whether he could balance work and family faded into resilience. He had not only defended his artistic journey but had embraced it, merging it seamlessly with an entrepreneurial spirit. "Are you ready?" Lily's voice broke his reverie, grounding him. More than ever, he smiled, knowing that both CEO and father were roles he could embrace fully. The recognition of who he had become amplified with every moment spent, illuminated by the vibrancy of stories told through their art. As they prepared to unveil their work to the community, Jake understood an essential truth: he had reclaimed his identity, and in doing so, he had forged a path they could walk together with confidence, passion, and connection. Despite uncertainties ahead, he felt a profound sense of satisfaction. He held the compass to their future, and from that day on, he committed to letting love and creativity lead their journey. Now was the moment to share their story, to carve out a new path grounded in authenticity and empowerment. So what will you do? Embrace your own journey today. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss more exclusive emotional stories like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our mission. Comment below with your reactions and theories about the ending. What were the key takeaways for you? And finally, don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and start their own journey of transformation.